welcome to another Cachorro video. It is our time for our The Mandalorian Season 3 recap breakdown. We're just going to do the whole season since we didn't do episodes for the season. This has been a kind of a controversial one because apparently a lot of people were not big fans of this season. I personally liked it a lot. I thought I really enjoyed the season. I guess people were claiming that there wasn't enough big action. I mean, we're coming off the Luke Skywalker moment, so... And then it's been, 2 years since we've done this season, so I guess people had extreme high expectations. But for the most part, I feel like they've followed the same formula. The first season, let me look at season 1 real quick. So it was about him getting the bounty hunter. It started with him doing bounty hunters. He finds Grogu. He goes to turn Grogu in. Decides that he can't do it. Rescues Grogu because he was a foundling himself. And then is pretty much on the run from there. Trying to find what Grogu is, who his people are. So it's pretty much quest A to B, doing different things, get to different areas. Doing a couple bounty hunter missions here and there. Leads to obviously the big reveal that Moff Gideon was the bad guy and has the Darksaber and that. Season 2 pretty much starts with him trying to find more Mandalorians. Trying to find the Jedi. He's also on the quest to find the Jedi. And then, of course, leads to Grogu getting kidnapped and having to rescue Grogu. And so, yeah, so it's kind of started with the little episode mission thing, which then led to a giant big reveal. I feel Season 3 has done the same thing. Overall, there were some things there are some things I didn't like, and there's some things I'm disappointed by, but in an ending that was puzzling. But overall, I still thought it was a pretty good season. I still enjoyed most of the season, for the most part. Even some of the quirky stuff they did, I thought, just for a break in the everyday thing. I'd still probably give this season a solid 8. It's the third season, so of course it's going to come down a little bit. So let's hop over and look at the episode breakdowns. And we haven't got too far deep yet, so there will be spoilers. So we start. So the first episode we pick up, he finds his covenant where they're now on some planet. They're doing some ritual thing to get attacked by a beast because, hey, it ain't something unless somebody's getting attacked by a beast. And that's it. He shows up, saves the day. We get reminded that he's been kicked out because he's took off his helmet, and that there's only one way to redeem himself is by going to the planet Mandalore and bathing in the waters. So, and he brings up where he's got something that shows that it is possible that Mandalore is existent. So he begins his quest to do that. Goes along the way, we visit some old friends. He trying to bring back IG-11 to be his droid to help him with the mission because they believe the planet is poisoned and cursed. Ends up being he gets R5 from the first Star Wars movie, or I guess Star Wars Episode 4. Has been rebuilt, and he gets R5 as his droid. He the episode pretty much ends with him visiting Bo-Katan, who we find since she did not beat Moff Gideon and get the Darksaber from him, her people have turned on her and left her and gone on mercenary ways. So she's living in a castle on the moon by herself. And she's kind of, a little resentment towards him as well because he's the one that took her moment. So that's how this starts off, setting up this is the storyline they started in the last season, and they're going to continue that through. So his goal is to redeem himself for taking off his helmet. So the second episode actually involves him landing on Mandalore. They find out the surface is, scorched and destroyed, but it is breathable. Then they find there's some things, some dangers alive that I don't know what they're supposed to be. I guess dormant, deep underground species that have now come to light because of the attack, the purge. And so he ends up going in to find the waters. And I don't know exactly. I'm not sure what it was. Some kind of being that lives in a mech suit, kind of very General Grievous like, captures him. And Grogu has to go get the ship, have R5 fly him to Bo-Katan to get help. So it's pretty cool. You get some, some creature scares and stuff like that. So still pretty solid episode. I mean, I'd probably say 6.6 for these first 2 episodes, setting up the missions. They're just solid setting up the story. The mission 3 is where we start getting some interesting stuff where they start building the overarching story a little bit. So we still have the Bo-Katan having to go rescue him part. We also find out that there's captured Imperials that are in rehabilitation on Coruscant. We see that, and the doctor guy from the first one that was trying to do the cloning and stuff and wanted Grogu is there, as well as a female Imperial that we saw was briefly with on Moff Gideon's ship. So they're trying to form a kind of a little bond, and believing that his research on cloning is super important, is the best thing to help the Republic out, and that she's pushing him to kind of continue that work. That's going on. Obviously, then we have the thing going on at the other side where Bo-Katan comes down, saves Din from the weird creepy dude. They proceed to they find the waters, and he goes in to bathe and cleanse himself for taking off his helmet. Turns out that the structure of the planet opened up a crevice, so he just starts sinking because he's wearing a metal suit. So it's under metal suits probably not the best for water. So apparently, but jetpacks work underwater. So hey, so Bo's going after him, and she kits him, fishes him, and comes back. As she's leaving, she passes by a giant beast. It's the legendary Mythosaur, I believe is what they said it was called. The thing that there's images based off of, and it's supposed to be a person who sees the Mythosaur is supposed to be the big Mandalorian thing, culture about it. So she saves him, and let's see. I'm trying to think if this is the ending for Pershing's story. See this episode or maybe the next episode. So the female, whose name I don't even remember her name, convinces him to go to the Imperial scrap guards where they're getting rid of old Imperial tech because because if it's Imperial, they automatically have just outlined it as destroyed. It needs to be destroyed, and instead of trying to reuse it, which kind of he make a point of how that stupid that is. It kind of is. Just because it was made by Imperials don't mean you can't repurpose it. So he goes, he's getting all the stuff that he needs for cloning. They get caught, and it turns out she was betraying him. So they put him in a machine that kind of does stuff through your head, and you're supposed to it's going to rehabilitate him and stuff. And she, without knowing notice, cranks it up and causes it to erase his whole brain, pretty much his mind. It wipes his mind clean. I don't think it was supposed to kill him. I think it was just supposed to just erase his memories. So, and then she also took all the stuff he gathered for the cloning. She took it. The next episode is about him returning to his people. Oh, well, first he goes. They go back to Bo-Katan's planet. They get attacked by TIE interceptors and TIE bombers who destroy her castle and force them. And they decide to take off together. He takes her back to the planet where his covenant is on, and so then they kind of welcome Bo in, because she's also technically bathed in the waters, even though she did take her helmet off right afterwards. She was walking around with her helmet, but they kind of went with, "Oh, no one's seen your face, so you technically are cleansed. You're allowed to stay with us." So they bring her, so they're accepting her, and she's trying to, find new people and getting along with them and stuff. We get flashbacks of Grogu's escape from the Jedi Temple. They bring back a heroic return for Ahmed Best, who played Jar Jar Binks, obviously. Gets to play the Jedi that helped Grogu pretty much escape. So apparently he gets cut. I don't know. Somewhere he gets caught again. Because obviously he was. Actually, I'm not. Yeah, there's a lot more to his backstory still has to be figured out. Like, whatever the whole. I'd be like, what, 20 something? So Jedi Temples before it was when Luke was born. The show has now got Luke around 30, so yeah, 30 years. So we have 30 years of trying to still have Grogu's backstory there. So we see, but Ahmed Best kind of rescues him. Pretty much keep running until he sacrifices himself so that Grogu can escape. So just to get the backstory of that, I can't remember exactly what was making Grogu remember that. Something that he was witnessing. Or I think it was the armor was telling a story. That's what made him have the flashback, and she was like doing some beating a metal plate for him. That made him have that flashback. So I think, for the most part, I think this episode was. So like I said, so we had probably 3 6s in a row. This one would be the first one I'd probably jump up a little bit because Best Return was pretty cool, and the TIE Interceptors thing was pretty cool, and so I'd say this was probably about 7.5. Then the next episode, Navarro is attacked by the. Oh, I forgot to mention that when there was a pirate attack in the first episode, he ran off some pirates. They attacked him in space, took him out, and he escaped from the capital ship. Well, that pirate now comes back to Navarro and is pretty much conquering the city. I mean, more than the planet. He's just really conquering the city. So, Grief sends out just for help. It goes to the Old Republic ship guy who goes to try and get help for it. The New Republic says can't get interfere because they're an independent nation on bureaucratic political stuff. Our chick also shows up and she's kind of against it as well, saying that's how they kind of push into. She's kind of getting like so we obviously know she's up to something. So the pilot goes and has found the Din's covenant, and he goes to the planet to tell him Grief needs help. So a bunch of the Mandalores decide to go help rescue Navarro, because they also mentioned how Grief offered him a slot of land that he could live on. They offered it to Din, so Din was like, "Hey, we can live there, and there'll be a place that will accept us, and a place where we can live out in the open." So they all agree to go, and they go, and they just do this big run where they take out all the pirates except for one. One gets away. So they take out the pirates, and so they get this whole. So they're now on the outskirts of the land, or welcome. They've been welcome to stay, but the armor has now decided she wants to go back to Mandalore, and what she knows that she needs to do is reunite the people. So she knows. So she has Bo remove her helmet and says, "You're the one that walks between worlds." So then task her with going and reuniting the other people, and that saying, "Hey, we need to get past our differences. We all are Mandalore. We all need to get along." So we end with Bo going looking for her followers that had deserted her. Uh, it's a pretty good action episode here as well. So I say this is another 7.5, maybe 8ish to me, because it was a pretty good episode. We had some fighting stuff. The next episode, we get an interesting, weird turn. We get also a guest star from Jack Black. So they find that so it opens up. We see that they're using the Imperial ship they stole from the second season, and they're hunting down bounties. And they came, the two aqua species. I can't remember the names. Remember originally it was called Squid Face. I can't remember that their people was. So it was their ship of the squid people, and they're after it because they have a Mon Calamari on board, who's been sought, who's in love with one of the squid people, but they have to take him back. So she has, they have to go back or will be destroyed. So we just see that they're working as mercenary mercs for hire. So they find them. They're on this planet. They've been also being paid by the planet as a protection force. So they land on this planet. It's like all fancy and sophisticated. Jack Black's a former Imperial guy who's gone through the rehab program, and he's now married to the queen of this area, the highest ranking person in this area. He's helped rehabilitate it. So everybody lives in this supposedly utopia where they don't have to do anything, because they've repurposed old battle droids and stuff like that to do all the chores, all the work. But some of them are supposedly, so what we find out is some of them are malfunctioning and not working correctly. And so then since they're not allowed, so supposedly some rules about what they can and can't do. They can't fight or carry weapons or something like that. So they tasked Bo and Din to get to the bottom of it. So they're going through, and we're seeing old battle droids here and the different droids, and there's a droid bar, and they kind of start finding out there's a hidden code. This is definitely a weird episode, kind of a crime whodunit episode with droids, and you see a droid bar. It's weird. It was weird and quirky, and I get what people that really hate that episode, but it's like a cool little break from the the normal. So it's still okay, weird but okay. They find out that the head guy who runs the repurpose all the battle droids is secretly putting the code in it because he was a separatist. So they capture him. He gets banished to a moon, and they give permission for Din and Bo to go see the other Mandalorians. So they get confronted by the guy who took the leader spot from Bo. And they fight for the leadership. They start with a fight for the leadership. And comes up to being that she couldn't keep the Darksaber. And then the Mandalorian, Din has it. So Din goes to give it to her, and like, we can't do that. You can't give it to me. We got I gotta take it from you. And so he brought up the fact like, well, I was captured on Mandalore and lost the Darksaber, and Bo rescued me, so therefore she beat the person that beat me. So therefore, this actually belongs to her. So they find a way to give her back the Darksaber and reunites all the people. And they decide to go to Navarro to join up with the other Covenant. Like I said, the main part of the episode was weird and quirky. So I'd probably say this one will give a 6 to it. Yeah, I see why people were upset with it. But so now Din has completed his mission about getting redeemed. We've reunited the people of Mandalore. Now we're getting, which is really successful. I like this 3 season was about a people coming back together and taking their home world. So they're all together, and now their plan is to go reclaim Mandalore. So they all group up in all their ships, and they fly off to Mandalore. They send a landing party to scout the surface to find a spot where they can, settle. While there, they run across some ship thing that's crossing the surface. ran by other Mandalorian survivors. So they obviously join up. And then we have our first little tension between the two groups. Obviously, just kind of shown. Then they get attacked by a giant beast that forces them into the caves that they were already going into. They find the forge, which is where the big, the home city part of the main city part of the thing. They get attacked by jetpack Mandalorians, or jetpack Imperials in special armor. And the fight leads off, and then they come up to a point where they're ambushed. We get the reveal that Moff Gideon was who we saw. Oh, sorry, forgot about this part. There was another scene earlier where we saw that Moff Gideon's transport was attacked, destroyed, and he was rescued. Well, Moff Gideon, and then we also had another scene where we saw him with a council of all the remaining High Imperial guys. We saw Hux's father, so obviously he was working on the cloning stuff. There's a couple other people. Remember talking about Grand Admiral Thrawn, that they're waiting for his return. Moff Gideon is against that, and against the cloning's your thing. Thrawn, it's time we start moving on past Thrawn and do his own this, because Thrawn's not coming back. And he's obviously working on his own thing and needs help. Because he pointed out about the Mandalorians are reuniting, taking back their world, so he needs extra troops. Some TIE interceptors and Praetorian guards and stuff like that. So they agreed to send him some extra support as well. So now back to this for second to last episode is we find out this is his base. They're farming Beskar so he can make Dark Trooper Beskar outfits to put soldiers in, because now they're not doing the droid part of it no more. He captures Mando. Goes to kill all the rest, but the Mandos put up a fight and they escape, except for our Vizsla, was the one that's played by Jon Favreau himself, stays behind, is taking out the Dark Troopers. Pretty much wrecked all of them until his weapon overheated. Then the Praetorian guards, the ones that we saw in The Last Jedi, come out, pretty much kick his ass and kill him, showing that these guys are badasses. So that's how that episode wins. Very solid episode. They're on the planet. We find out the bad guys there. Get some good fight scenes. I'd still say I'd give about a 9 on this one, because it was definitely a big comeback. Then we get to our final episode. Bo-Katan and the people are still kind of trying to regroup and find a safe spot. The one guy whose name I can't think of either, who escaped in the last episode to go get help from the fleet, or warn the fleet that there's Imperials here. He has to warn them that their TIE interceptors are coming to destroy them, and that they need to send all the people to the planet surface, leave the big Imperial capital ship they have as a decoy. So obviously we also found out that the jetpacks can work in the upper atmosphere type, sort of space, kind of. I don't know if they're technically supposed to be in space or not, but there shouldn't be no air. But he flies all the way up to the ship. Everybody takes off. He mans the ship and starts fighting the TIE interceptors as they're going down. And they reunite with Bo-Katan's group. The Mando, in the meantime, is was able to attack his escort and started freeing himself. And when they finally was getting the upper hand on him, Grogu shows up in his IG-11 suit, which I also forgot to mention. He now is a pilot in an IG-11 armor suit, which he got in an earlier episode. So he uses that to take out the other guards. So now they're fighting. And their goal is that they need. He needs to find Moff Gideon, and he has to just kill Moff Gideon. We just can't leave it. We have to take out Moff Gideon. So he's hunting down in the base to find him. He gets R5 to show up and start helping him. R5 does the R2 thing, finds a little task support and is helping him with stuff. Meanwhile, Bo meets up with their people, so they start their attack. So we get this cool air battle between the two jetpack guys, the Mandalorian jetpacks and the Imperial jetpacks. There's this big battle in the air. It was really well done. It can be a little chaotic, hard to follow, but it was super exciting. It was like pretty good action. You got the armor bashing people, bows slicing people up with Darksaber. So meanwhile, then we have the Phantom Menace callback as Mando is using R5 to open up force barriers one at a time so he can fight the 2 guards that are inside each one to get all the way to the final room, where we find that there's a ton of Moff Gideon clones. So that's what's been in the tubes. Mando destroys them all, goes into the next room, when Moff Gideon shows up. And saying that his plan was, he was trying to do is make his clones superior by giving them all the qualities. The last thing he was trying to add on was give them the Force. So you'd have an army of himself with Force powers. That could have got weird. So I guess a good thing that kind of got killed. So these two big battle. The Praetorian guards come out and they start all joining up on Mando and kicking his ass. And then when Grogu shows up and the Praetorian guards leave to go after Grogu into another room with behind a door. And Moff Gideon is keeping Mando from escaping to go save him. And then Bo-Katan shows up. And she takes, save Mandalorian, save Din. And she's like, I got this. You go save your child. So that starts to get the Bo-Katan Moff Gideon fight going on. While Mandalorian goes into the next room and joins the battle against the Praetorian guards with Grogu. And they're doing the fighting while Grogu's using Force powers to help him out with things that are along the way. Really well done fight. Looked really good. And it's done super well. Meanwhile, we also have the Bo-Katan fight going on. Also, it's going pretty good. They're going back and forth. Moff Gideon's got like a little electro staff. So both of these fights are going on at the same time. We keep cutting back and forth to them. Both fights are pretty damn good. Mando, obviously, and Grogu get the best of the Praetorian guards. In the long run, Bo-Katan is, losing to Moff Gideon pretty much. To the point where he actually ends up destroying the hilt of the Darksaber, just making it so the Darksaber is now done, destroyed. And so he's saying, "Ha, you're destroyed now. You believe in your trinkets, and now your trinkets are gone." And he's like, "Oh, we Mandalorians were never alone." And then Din rejoins the battle, and Grogu joins the battle, and they're all three tagging up on Moff Gideon. We also cut away and see that the guy who flew up and was manning the ship, now the ship comes into the upper atmosphere all in flames, and he's crashing it right into the Imperial base. So all the other Mandos start escaping as it's crashing down. It gets to the point where they're fighting on the platform. The ship starts blowing up, and all the fire starts coming up. We see fire engulf Moff Gideon, so pathetically looks like he's dead. And then it goes over our heroes, but then we find out Grogu's doing a force bubble to protect them from the flames. So that ends the battle, which was not, because the episode was called The Return. So I guess it's the Return of Mandalore. I kind of was hoping it was like a trick title that was going to have something else happen at the end, but I was going to be disappointed on that part. So super great. So up to this point, this episode has been extremely really well. I'm going to give this, up to this point, I'm saying it's a 9 because everything was super good. So now we get to the closing part of the season. This is where things get puzzling. So we see the armor in the waters, doing the ritual with the same kid from the first episode. Din steps in and wants Grogu to also get the ritual. They said he's still fouling. So Din adopts him, and now and then makes him his apprentice, and now he is Din Grogu, the apprentice of Din Djarin. And then we also have a ceremony where the armor comes out with a flame, gives it to Bo-Katan, who reunites the Forge, and now the Mandos are rebuilding their homeworld. All right, cool. They're back home and all that kind of stuff. Then she tells, I think it was obviously in the scene before it, where she tells Din now that he's apprenticed, he must do the journeys. You must take him out in the galaxy and do journeys so he can learn and grow. So pretty much they just recapture Mandalore, and they're pretty much telling Din that you got to go. You and Grogu got to go. You guys got to go do traveling and journeys and stuff like that. So then we cut to a scene where he shows up on the planet where the Rebel base, or the Resistance, or New Republic, at this point, New Republic base is, to talk to the older pilot, pretty much saying that, hey, he's my apprentice now, I got to teach him things. My trade is a bounty hunter, but I'm going to be more selective about my bounties. So he's like, you're still hunting Imperials that are on the Outer Rim. I want to work for you guys. You hire me to do this stuff for you. So I was like, I'll be an independent contractor. So pretty much saying he's becoming a bounty hunter for the New Republic. And they have an IG-11 head there, so he takes the head for parts. Then we cut to them landing on Navarro. He's rebuilt IG-11 now with all new parts, and gave him to Greef to be their marshal for their planet. And Greef also gives Mando a cottage on the outskirts of town for him and Grogu, his family, to take time, to rest in between missions. So they have it out in peace. So then we cut to the final scene, which is Din just kicked back on the porch, pretty much on a porch, sitting back there. Grogu's out in the yard, using force powers on a frog. So they're just sitting there, chilling. Then we get a zoom in to a little circle on Grogu and them, and then the episode ends. So very interesting. Weird ending. So first off, I was hoping we were going to get some kind of review of Grand Admiral Thrawn. Disappointingly, that did not happen. So I was really hoping for that. But also, it kind of felt like this could be used as a series finale. Supposedly there's already a next season already written. But this kind of ended like this could be the end of the story for them because they have a happy ending. He's got an official bounty hunter job. Grogu's his apprentice. And they're out going to live a quiet life together on Navarro, doing bounty hunter work. Meanwhile, we know the Mandalore people have restarted their home world. So everything's kind of been wrapped up into a ball and has a happy ending. There's no open cliffhangers. No tease of Moff Gideon surviving, so he appears he is 100% dead. So it makes you wonder, did they just wrap up the show? Because we know we got Ahsoka coming. We know we got Skeleton Crew coming, which are all set in this world. We know we have Dave Filoni's movie coming as well to wrap everything up against the big battle with Grand Admiral Thrawn. Oh, well, yeah, I guess. Well, Thrawn's going to show up, obviously, in the Ahsoka show. So I was like, is there going to be more Mando before this movie happens? Or is he just going to show up in maybe other people's stuff? Sure, that's very interesting because this is a very open-ended ending. I guess this ending, like I said, it's that big happy ending. They have the nice little zoom in, boom, boom, gone. So not sure. It's very strange. But so the overall grade for the season, I'll give the season. Could be easy 7 or 8. Man, like I said, I found it entertaining all the way through. I mean, obviously the second season, we had the Bo-Katan, we had Luke Skywalker, Ahsoka Tano showed up. That's going to obviously be by far the best season of the show. I mean, that season's probably hanging around a 10. First season, maybe slightly better than this season. But as I said, you didn't get too much big stuff there, just missions of the week kind of thing still. So we just had a lot of that A to B, go do this side mission so you can get this, so you can push your quest along. Like I said, I didn't think it was a terrible season. I still enjoyed it. I'm just questioning on, is there a future? Is there going to be more seasons of The Mandalorian? That's the question mark there. So I guess we'll have to wait and see on that one. But yeah, there's my recap. It's kind of long. Sorry. That's happens when you break down 9 episodes in one video. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I personally thought it was not a bad season. People, I think, have too high expectations on stuff sometimes, especially when it comes to stuff like Marvel and Star Wars. They demand too much. I guess I think it told us Din got redeemed, brought together his people. They took back their home world. That was what this season was supposed to be about. That they accomplished that. The big bad was killed. I mean, the thing that sucks is they didn't tease anything bigger coming, which also could lead to being a series finale. But in other words, that's pretty much my thoughts on the season. Thank you for watching, and until next time.